I've been creative journaling for the last 5 years, and in that time, I've discovered what works for me, how best I like to document my memories, how I process information, how I express my creativity, and how a journal becomes a representation of who I am. Today, I'm sharing with you the journal that I completed most recently. This journal has become a really good representation of how I journal. As we flip through, I'll stop and talk about some of the entries, reflect on some ideas or tips or the memories that I hold most dear within these pages. So grab yourself a cup of tea or coffee and settle in as we flip through my completed journal. And before we jump in, if this is the first video you happen to be seeing of mine, welcome to my Abiding Journal. My name is Kelsey Lee, and I would love to have you join the Abiding fam by hitting the subscribe button. In my last journal flip through, which was more than 10 months ago, I actually flipped through all of the pages that I had done up to that point, which was to this page here. So for this video, I am going to flip through the first half of this TN rather quickly just to show you the pages. But if you want a more in-depth discussion of these entries, you'll want to go and check out that creative journal flip through. I'll have it linked up in the cards and down in the description. But for now, I'm just going to flip through these rather quickly. I'll mention a few things as I go. These are all obviously some Christmas entries, documenting time with friends and family. Ben getting his deer is here. A lot of times we are the memory keepers for our families. There's usually not multiple memory keepers in one family, at least in my experience. So if you are the memory keeper in your family, I think it's fun to incorporate your friends and family's memories into your journals as well. And a way to do that is when something meaningful happens in their life, have them be the ones to do the journaling and the writing about it. Here is one of my reading wrap-up entries, and I actually have many more reading-related entries at the very end of this journal, so stay tuned. I'll be talking about them more in depth, but I always love doing my reading journal entries, and I do have a tutorial on how I create a bookshelf of all of the covers of the books I read here on my channel. Now we get into 2022 with some of my words of the year, my focuses for the year, and then my intentions and goals for the year. And I have an entire video on this goal setting system, so I'll have that linked for you as well. Here, I also listed out some habits that I wanted to focus on and then have a companion page that just says we may not have gone where we intended to go, but we have ended up where we intended to be, reminding myself to simply trust the process. And now we get into my monthly review pages, which has become an absolute must of my journaling. These are my favorite pages to create. I think they are going to be my favorite pages to look back on because they give you such a fabulous glimpse at your life in review in a really digestible way where you can look at one page and have a complete overview of your experiences within an entire month. So these are going to be a delight to look back on years from now, and I can't recommend doing this type of entry enough. If you want to learn more about these entries, I have an entire playlist dedicated to my monthly journaling, and I'll have that linked right here for you. Directly after my monthly entries, I then just get into my memory keeping, which I do in more of a highlights format. I am not memory keeping every day anymore. I did do a year where I literally documented every single day. That one looks like this, and it is massive, and I have flip throughs one for every single month of this journal here on my channel, so you can check that out next. But I've discovered that my life is more conducive to highlights-based journaling when it makes sense for me, when I have the time and space, or when I need to process something or have specific memories that I want to make sure I don't forget by recording them here in my journal. So a lot of times that looks like trips, it looks like main events, time spent with friends, weekend getaways, but also the little things too. It's not all the big, huge highlights of your life. It can also be simple things like a day of fishing. It can be going on a walk, making bubble tea at home because it's something you simply enjoy. It also can look like processing. This entry here is me just processing my grief after losing my mom. So a little bit of decoration because I do love creative journaling and it is one of the ways that I process my experiences, but mainly the focus here is on the writing, and I really do believe in journaling not only as a form of memory keeping, but also a form of processing our thoughts and emotions. A great way to help you process and think about things when you don't know what to write is to use journal prompts. There is no shame in using prompts in your journaling. It can be incredibly helpful and really give you guidance on what to write about when you feel stuck. And I actually create journal prompts every single month that are geared to helping you document, reflect, and create. And these are available on my Patreon page. If you are completely new to creative journaling and looking at my pages and wondering how on earth do you turn a blank page into a creative picture of your experiences using stickers and photos and ephemera and all of these different things, I think one of the best ways to learn how to creative journal and discover what will work best for you using the tools that you already have available to you, or what things you might want to add to your collection as you start this hobby, is to watch process videos. And this entry is a great example of one that I have a process video for that is nice and slow, and you can see and hear my process from start to finish, blank page to finished entry, because it is done as a live stream, so it's all in real time. Alright, so this was the last entry that I shared over in my previous flip through. As I said, I went through these entries really quickly because I already did a flip through that was in depth and very chatty in another video. So if you want to hear more about any of these entries, go ahead and check out that flip through. But now we are going to get into entries that I have not yet shared here on my channel. These first entries, honestly, are not my favorite. They're very busy. These colors are not ones I normally gravitate to, but as you can see, it was 4th of July, and so I naturally leaned hard into the red, white, and blue. And even though these aren't done in the best aesthetic way for my own personal taste, they do document the memories. The memories are on the page, and that ultimately is what matters most. And that is a great tip for you, understanding that the memories, the processing, the experience of journaling, the creative process as you're just sitting down and creating in the moment, that all is so much more important than the design and final aesthetic of the entry. So don't let the fear of creating a bad page or the experience of having created something that you didn't necessarily like stop you from continuing to create and continuing to document your memories. Here I just have a very, very simple entry, proof that you don't need a lot to document important moments in your life. This captures a beautiful day spent at a festival in our area with our family, and I literally just captioned this one, so very scrapbook-esque, not a lot of journaling. All I did was caption it, time spent in nature with family is my favorite, and then highlighted that it was at the Ned Smith Festival with the date, and otherwise I'm letting the photos speak for themselves, and just did the most minimal decoration by having a really pretty scrapbook paper and a sticker. Very minimal, but very effective. This entry over here I absolutely love. It documents an amazing book that I read this year called Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell, and I really just wanted to capture some of my favorite quotes from this novel. So I put a central photo of me reading by the pool because I think it's also fun to document your experience of reading, and I spent a lot of time reading this book at the pool, so it's always fun to document your locale and the setting of your reading experience too. But then around that, I just did in simple blue ink some of my favorite quotes. You can see I changed up the hand lettering style a little bit for each one, but ultimately they are just some of my favorite quotes from the book. And you might also notice that I used a dictionary page as the backing, and I love this because it is all about motherhood, this page, and I highlighted Mother's Boy since Hamnet is the focus of the story and is the son of the mother who happens to be the wife of, you guessed it, William Shakespeare. Highly recommend the book, and the backing of highlighting Mother's Boy will make a lot more sense if you read it. Next, we move into house renovations. Again, not my favorite aesthetic. I just was not vibing very well with some of these entries, but getting the memories down was what was most important. So I did use a fun paper as the background, and really cool idea is when you have a busy background like this to pick one part of it to really highlight and maybe add to by doing an outline. So that's what I did with the house. I kind of did some emphasis lines, some stars around it to emphasize that we were doing house renovations, right? Not car or plant, but the house was the main focus of this paper that I wanted to use. And then you can see our unveiling of the hardwood floors that were underneath the carpet. We worked on refinishing them, and I had some really good quality time with my dad, who does that for a living and was helping us to do it in our home. I also on this side have this incredibly sweet note from the woman who owned this house before us. She left this in the kitchen when we moved in and first got the keys, and it was just so sweet and touching. She lived here for 50 years, so had so many memories built into this home, and we are honored to get to continue making memories in this home. And then I also have a note that was from our landlord, who also was our realtor. So I put that in here as well with just a few little stickers. Here I document going to a wedding with a really fun collage background that I did with all different papers and stickers and washi tape, and with the focus being photos of me and Ben and my friend Michelle. And then this was a really fun kind of high school reunion type wedding, since it was two friends from our high school who got married, and so there is a photo of us all together with my journaling about the occasion at the bottom. This entry is one that is more hard for me to look back on, but I know that I'll be really grateful that I created it in the future. And this is one about my mom because it was documenting her birthday, September 19th, and she passed away in the year before, in 2021, and she would have been 52 on this day. So I put in here the pamphlet that I made for her memorial service because I had not documented that already in my journal, so I did want to include it in here. Celebrating Deanna is a tradition that we started this year by essentially encouraging family and friends to post during the month of September going out on the water or being by the water, because it was my mom's favorite space and the place where she said she always felt closest to heaven was when she was by the water, whether that was the beach or kayaking on the river. She loved being by the water. So we encourage family and friends to post photos of them enjoying time by the water and celebrating my mom using the hashtag and reflecting on her life. So that was a really, really special thing to have this last year, and I am hopeful that we will continue it this September. And I just did some reflecting on the day, and this piece over here is really hard for me to talk about, but this was a birthday card that I made for my mom. It was the last one that I made for her on her 50th birthday, and it's very difficult for me to read because it talks a lot about how she has so much more time left to live, since 50 kind of feels like the halfway point of our lives. I feel like we all have this idea in our heads that we're going to live to be 100, and so 50 feels like the halfway mark. Life is almost over. What more are we going to do with our lives? And I was trying to encourage her that she has so much more to experience. Little did I know at that time, writing this card, that it was actually her last year of life. She passed away later that year, right before her next birthday. So really hard to look back on, but also a good reminder that we're not guaranteed any time on this earth and in our lives, and to make the most of it right now, right? Hug our loved ones and spend time with them and do the things that we love and record the memories that we want to hold on to long after our loved ones are gone. Honestly, this right here is one of the reasons that I journal, because I have so many memories recorded with my mom because of my journaling, and it would be really heartbreaking if I didn't have those. So I hope that that at least is an encouragement to you to document your life in some way. It does not have to look like this. It does not have to be in-depth creative journaling of your memories, but try monthly journaling. Even that little bit can be so heartwarming to look back on. So that is this page. I did also want to mention, if you are curious about some of the stickers on this entry, like the dark is already defeated, and then it's okay to cry, talk about how you feel. These are all stickers that are available on my Patreon page. They are part of the It's Okay to Not Be Okay collection. Every single month, I create a new printable sticker collection that is available on my Patreon page, and that is one of my all-time favorite collections. And when you become a patron, you get access to all of them. So I would encourage you to check it out. I have the link in the description. My next entry is on a happier note, very random happy note, which is the creation of my window bench. In my dining room, I created this little reading nook with a window bench that my dog quickly took over. But I was very proud of this first DIY home project that I did all on my own. I used this fabric, so I just have a little swatch of it here in my journal. and then have documented some of the things that I've enjoyed doing in that space, mostly drinking coffee and enjoying a good book or reflecting on God's Word. Seems like a silly little memory to document, but I was very proud of having made this all by myself, and so I wanted to include it in here. And these little things stickers are also ones from my Patreon, as are all of these really fun, cozy stickers that I used to document hanging out in Philly with my best friend, just enjoying autumn there. I can smell autumn dancing in the breeze. I love some of the autumn stickers on my Patreon too. There are so many stickers for literally every season, every reason that you would need a sticker, so it's a really good way if you are just starting out creative journaling and you feel overwhelmed by the idea of going to a craft store and buying stickers or figuring out what papers and things to have. You truly could journal just with printable stickers, and it's a pretty affordable price to have access to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stickers that you can use again and again. This next entry documents one of my husband's favorite pastimes, which is pheasant hunting, and he takes out our dog, Caragini, and they have so much fun with the guys, and we do enjoy having the sustainable meat in our freezer as well, so it's a win-win all around. I did put one of the little feathers here with a strip of washi tape. I love the way that that looks, and their feathers are absolutely gorgeous. And then I really love this very simple decoration around this photo. Just a strip of washi tape and a few stickers with the caption of pheasant hunting, and it's very simple, very minimalist, which I do love the minimalist style. I really, really do, but I just tend to get carried away and lean more maximalist in my journaling, but aesthetically I actually enjoy the look of minimalist pages even more most of the time. Here is an entry that I created throughout the month of November, just one thing I was grateful for every single day. Highly, highly recommend that you try doing this. If not every month, at least once in a while. Do one thing, literally one thing. Such an easy way to start journaling. If you are new to journaling, don't know what to journal about, you feel stuck, pick one thing a day to be grateful for and just journal about that. It could literally be a line a day and do it on one page, or you might even want to turn that one thing into a creative entry. Maybe you turn that one thing into a reflection on why you're grateful for it and use photos and stickers or an illustration to capture why you're grateful for that thing. This might be one of my favorite entries, not just because of what it documents, which is an amazing vacation down in the Outer Banks, but also I just love the layout of it. I love doing entries that cross over the full layout, so expand into both pages, and a great way to do that is to have your title cut across the pages, and so you can see I did that here with vacation time, and then using the days of the week sticker across as well. And then I love the use of white highlighter over a photo, and you can see I had it bleed onto the craft paper as well. Craft paper from Brown Paper Bags, if you're looking for sustainable, no-cost journal supplies, are such a fun addition to journaling, and you can get them for completely free and be recycling in the process. And for this page, you can see, rather than create a page for every single day of this trip, I really just wrote down what were the highlights and then did a little overview of what this vacation meant to me. And I think that's a really efficient way to do a vacation page. I think vacations and travel can get very overwhelming in our journals very quickly because typically vacations are packed with so many more memories that we want to hold on to and remember for the future. And so there are people who create entire giant scrapbooks. My mom was one of them, dedicated to a single vacation. So 1 week would be filling up pages and pages and pages within a scrapbook because we take so many photos and we do so many things and we have so much that we want to remember and record. But the fact is, how often are you going to look back through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of every vacation you've ever gone on? Right? So I really like the idea of doing a wrap-up page or even just one page per day if you do have a lot that you want to say about every single part of the vacation. And so this is a good example of what that looks like for me and what I've discovered works really well. I just went to Ecuador, and so that is one example where I don't think I want to do a single page dedicated to it. I did do a whole quick highlights in my monthly journal for Ecuador. I'll show that to you really quickly. So here you can see the page I just did in my June wrap-up for the last month, and I create these monthly pages in a separate notebook now every single month, and this journal here is going to be such a treasure in the future. I'm so excited for it. But here you can see I just turned Ecuador, this incredible 10-day adventure, into a quick highlights reel with a few select photos that represented the different experiences of the trip. And this will be most likely what I look back on the most. But that being said, I do plan on creating at least 1 to 2 pages for each day or for each activity, the big activities that we did while in Ecuador, in my regular journal. So definitely doing it more in depth than I did here for the Outer Banks, but not to the level of creating scrapbook pages of hundreds of photos that few people are likely going to want to look back on. Here I just have some photos from going out with Ben and Karajini together hunting, and I really love the layout of these photos with just a little title in the middle and some washi strips to set it apart with my journaling at the bottom. Very simple layout and something anybody could do. Here is an example of using one of my journal prompts. Again, just picking 1 or 2 of the prompts to reflect on over on the side. This was our first Christmas getting to decorate in our new home, so I was very excited about Christmas decor and setting up our tree in front of our big French doors and just having the fireplace to be able to decorate, and of course setting up my little village, which I do every year. And all of the stickers that you are seeing on this page, every single one of these, are from my Patreon. I loved this collection so much. It's like a vintage Christmas collection. I have many Christmas collections now at this point on Patreon, so if you're looking to do some December daily, definitely check out those printables. Here are more examples of some of the other collections I've done in the past. I love these little cozy Christmas Huya collection stickers and ones from my faith tier as well, if you are interested in printables specifically from a faith perspective and Christianity. I do have a tier where I share printable stickers for that as well. And then over here is a little bit of nature journaling. I love this quote that is about birding, and essentially just says that on a day like this, I can't imagine anything better that might happen in a person's life than for them to start paying attention to birds, to become aware of this magical world that exists all around us, unnoticed by many, but totally captivating for those who know its secrets. Such a great quote by Ken Kaufman. And the reason I use that quote is because of, you might be able to see here, this painting that I did of the common shelduck, which is very common in Western Europe, but super rare to see in North America. And there was one in our area We of course had to go see it, and so I just have that documented here, and chose to do an illustration because I was not able to get a good photo of it. We could see it really well through the binoculars, but weren't able to get a good photo. So another great tip, it can be really hard to get good photos of certain things that we experience in our lives, but those are good opportunities to try our hands at drawing our memory, trying to actually illustrate what we remember and what we saw. Or if that isn't going to work, there are usually images on the internet that will represent it just as well. And then finally, the end of this journal is a recap of my reading year. This was one of my best reading years ever. I read 52 total books, one for every single week of the year. And all of these super fun bookish stickers are on my Patreon. They are part of a collection that was dedicated to the love of reading. I think it was called Bibliophile Book Lover, if I'm not mistaken. So you can search for that on my Patreon. I also used graphs from my Storygraph app to include in my journal. And then I always like to create on Canva a compilation of all of the covers of the books that I read. So all of these entries are ones that I created in a video about my reading journal. So you can see the process of these pages coming together by checking that video out. But what I have not yet shared, and that is coming soon, is a video that walks through how I created these entries for my top books of the year. These were my 10 favorites, the 10 5-star reads that I read, and I created an entry dedicated to each of them and that genre, essentially, of the book in my journal. I was so happy with how these pages turned out, and I'm really looking forward to sharing them with you more in depth and giving my thoughts on these books, why I chose them as my favorites, and why I would recommend them to you in a future video, hopefully coming soon, now that I finally have finished these entries and can share them with you. So that is all of the reading pages that I created. I just finished with a recap of those top 10 5-star reads. And again, using one of my favorite stickers. I love this girl kind of chilling by the window. And then I always like to end my journals with a little reflection or recap of what this journal has in it, saying goodbye to the previous year if I'm ending that journal at the end of a year, and looking forward. So I highly recommend trying that in your own journaling. It doesn't have to be journaling a deep reflection, but even just choosing a quote that you feel helps to encapsulate your experiences that you have documented throughout the journal can be a really nice ending note for the journal. In my case, I chose this piece that I cut out from a magazine. It has a great quote that reads, "Through all that has changed and all that is the same, you are free to breathe deep and fall into the rhythms of grace." And what a powerful reminder for me in this year of 2022. You know, this is the year following the loss of my mom, and so I dealt with a lot of significant change. New home to so much change in such a short time, and really significant life changes. But also, so much is the same. So many of the traditions that we have, the things that we do, our experiences, the people we spend our time with, so much of that was the same. And giving myself grace to fall into rhythms, but also to be okay with the fact that some of those rhythms have changed and look different. So, in short, it's been a year. That is a year of my life, essentially, plus 1 month, captured in a single journal. I hope that you enjoyed this peek into my life, Please be kind in the comments because it definitely is vulnerable to share my journaling with you. But the reason I do it is because I truly, truly believe in the power of documenting our memories and exploring our creativity. I believe that we are created to create. I believe that we are also created to be memory keepers and storytellers. I believe that God has made us in His image, and He is the greatest storyteller of them all. And we have memories for a reason. They are so important and so valuable. And I really believe in documenting them and making them truly abide. So I hope that this video has inspired you, that you are ready to document your own memories, or if you already enjoy documenting your life, maybe you have gained a few tips and ideas along the way. If you did, I would love to know any takeaways that you have from this flip through, or I'd really enjoy getting to hear about your journaling process and the types of things that you include in your journaling. How do you journal? Answer that question in the comments. And finally, please do give the video a thumbs up and join the Abiding fam by hitting the subscribe button. And if you're interested in any of the stickers I shared or journal prompts and much, much more, do consider checking out my Patreon page. You also can now join my Patreon for completely free, just to stay updated with all things happening in our community. And for the occasional free printable, I actually just uploaded a free printable recently, so if you want to snag this freebie, you can join Patreon for free, or check out one of the paid tiers to get access to even more bonus content. That is going to be everything for this video, fam. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, keep exploring your abiding creativity and document a life abiding in faith, hope, and love.